Most people never stop to ask themselves what life is responding to. They wait, they hesitate, they hope. But life is not a lottery. It is not random. It responds to the mental atmosphere we live in, an atmosphere we create ourselves. Think abundance, and abundance moves toward you with a quiet certainty. Think lack, and life confirms it with delay, denial, and discouragement. We live not in a world of chance, but in a field of response. The thoughts we hold, calmly, steadily, with conviction, are the blueprint from which our circumstances are built. Whether we realize it or not, every moment we are giving instructions to life, and life, like a faithful servant, carries them out. This is not theory, this is not mysticism. It is law. The same way gravity never forgets, this principle never fails. If you're hearing this and you feel something inside you shift, a subtle realization, a quiet confirmation, then consider this your first test. Take a moment now, if you're finding value already, to like this message and subscribe, not just to the video, but to the idea itself. Let your daily life become a subscription to the idea that you are in command of the direction your life takes. Too many people wait for proof before they believe. But the law works in reverse. Belief comes first, then proof. The world mirrors what we deeply, silently believe is true about ourselves. Everything around you, your surroundings, your job, your health, your relationships, is simply the harvest of thoughts you planted long ago. And if you want a better harvest, there is only one thing to change: the seeds. That means your thoughts, your inner posture, the dominant images you carry inside. You cannot plant fear and reap peace. You cannot plant resentment and reap joy. You cannot plant doubt and reap prosperity. That's not how the laws of the mind work. They are exact, they are impartial, and they are always on. Every human being is a walking magnet, drawing into their world that which is in harmony with their state of mind. One of the greatest misunderstandings in human behavior is the idea that we are victims of our environment. In truth, we are the creators of it, not through force but through thought, not through manipulation but through vibration. A man may work hard his entire life and never see progress, not because he lacks effort, but because he never adjusted the signal he was sending. He thought poverty while chasing prosperity. He acted in fear while begging for courage. And the law returned to him not what he wanted, but what he thought. Because that is the law. What you steadily think about, you steadily move toward. Not in bursts, but in accumulation. Your thoughts are your spiritual compass. Wherever they point, that's where you'll arrive. Now consider this: every single day you are building something. The question is not if you are building, but what you are building. Are you building a future or building an excuse? Are you constructing a palace of peace or a fortress of fear? Are you laying the bricks of prosperity or the blocks of limitation? Thought is not idle. It is an act, a blueprint, a command to the universe. The difference between the man who lives in abundance and the one who lives in scarcity is not in opportunity. It is in thought. One thinks, life is full and there is more coming to me. The other thinks, there is never enough and I must fight to survive. And so it is done unto them both. You have within you the power to shift the climate of your life entirely. The temperature of your results, your mood, your money, your momentum. It is all regulated by the thermostat of belief. Raise your belief and the temperature rises. Lower your belief and everything contracts. There is no lasting abundance outside of inner certainty. It does not come by chance, inheritance, or accident. It comes by inner permission. The moment you truly believe it is yours, it begins to take shape around you. That is not arrogance, that is alignment. That is why the wisest men and women throughout history have said the same thing in different words: as within, so without. When you walk in the spirit of abundance, people feel it. Rooms change when you enter. Conversations shift. Circumstances bend. You no longer ask for permission to live the life you desire. You declare it. You stop apologizing for wanting more and instead begin to embody the person who expects it. You become magnetic, not because you chase, but because you attract. Your energy becomes a broadcast signal, one that says, I am available only to the things that match this new level of thinking. You become untouchable to negativity, not because you are blind to reality, but because you are loyal to the higher law that governs it. The truth is, abundance is not something you pursue. It's something you remember. You were born with the right to prosper. You were given a mind not to worry, but to create. You were given imagination not to fear the future, but to build it. Somewhere along the way, perhaps you forgot. But that power, the ability to shift your inner world and let the outer world respond, is still yours. It never left you. It is waiting for your command. Think abundance and life will mirror it. Think prosperity and life will echo it. Think higher and life will rise with you. The law does not discriminate. It only obeys. Let this be your law today. Repeat it aloud, write it down, etch it into your mind. Comment it below if you feel it resonate. I am a magnet to abundance. My life rises to match the power of my thoughts. This is not just a phrase. It is a declaration, a statement of alignment. Say it as if your future depends on it, because it does. Let this be your foundation. From here, everything begins to change. Most people drift not because they lack desire, but because they lack clarity. They live in a fog of half-decided goals and vague wishes. But the law does not respond to fog. It responds to direction. Abundance requires a defined aim. A man without a goal is like a ship without a rudder, subject to wind, tide, and chance. But the moment he chooses a destination, everything begins to align. The sea becomes his servant. The stars become his guide. And the vessel, once adrift, now moves with purpose. In the same way, your mind, once given a clear command, will begin to organize every detail of your life around its fulfillment. Circumstances will shift, people will appear, and the resources you once lacked will begin to surface, not by coincidence, but by consequence. It begins with a decision, one quiet internal commitment to stop thinking small. One line in the sand where you say, I will no longer accept a life of limitation. That is the birthplace of abundance, not in more hours worked, not in luck or timing, but in the shift from vague hope to specific intention. Most people fail not because they set their sights too high, but because they never take aim at all. They scatter their focus, dilute their energy, and wonder why nothing changes. But the man who thinks abundance chooses one clear direction and commits himself to it fully. He does not hope, he expects, and that expectation becomes a silent force behind everything he does. Expectation is power. It shapes your body language, your tone of voice, your presence in a room. People can feel it, life can feel it. To expect abundance is to walk differently, speak differently, and think differently. It is not arrogance, it is alignment. You are not demanding something that does not belong to you. You are allowing in what was always yours. The only difference now is that you have decided to claim it, and that decision changes everything. The way you carry yourself in the world is the evidence of what you believe about your future. If you walk with fear, life responds with resistance. But if you walk with conviction, life opens like a door swinging toward you. Many misunderstand the law of abundance as mere wishing, but there is no power in wishing. There is only power in intention. The man who thinks abundance is not sitting passively, waiting for something to happen. He is acting in alignment with his belief. He studies, he plans, he works, but he does all this with a foundation of certainty. He is not chasing money, he is becoming the kind of person to whom money flows. He is not hunting opportunity, he is preparing for it, knowing it must arrive. His work is no longer driven by fear, but by faith. Faith in the law, faith in himself, and faith in the quiet rhythm of sowing and reaping. Abundance is not accidental. It follows structure. It follows order. The man who lives in alignment with abundance has rituals, not ruts. He designs his days like a craftsman building a cathedral. He guards his mornings. He chooses his inputs. He protects his mind like a sacred garden, for he knows that the thoughts he entertains become the circumstances he encounters. He writes his goals. He reads his principles. He repeats his affirmations not as superstition, but as seed planting. He understands that repetition is not redundant, it is reinforcement, and what you reinforce, you realize. Now let us be clear. Thinking abundance does not mean denying problems. It means refusing to let them become your identity. The man who thinks abundance does not pretend challenges do not exist. He simply refuses to bow to them. He greets difficulty with the mindset of a sculptor. Every block, every resistance is raw material for growth. He does not curse the obstacle, he thanks it, because within it lies the strength he did not yet know he possessed. This is not blind positivity. This is sovereign thinking. This is the man who walks into the storm, not with arrogance but with assurance, knowing that nothing sent to break him can stand against the power that moves through him. Abundance begins in the invisible, Before it can be seen, it must be conceived. That is why you must carry the image of your future with you like a sacred flame. See it clearly. Speak of it boldly. Think of it daily. The clearer the image, the stronger the magnet. Most people never change because they never see beyond where they are. They are bound not by their circumstances, but by their imagination. But the man who thinks abundance sees beyond his current location. He sees the life he wants as already real, and in doing so he draws it closer with every action, every word, every choice aligned with that future. Your results will always lag behind your thoughts. Do not judge your progress by what is visible. Judge it by your consistency. You are not trying to force life to respond. You are allowing it to. You are not chasing results. You are becoming the kind of person for whom those results are inevitable. That is the quiet confidence of the man who thinks abundance. He does not rush. He does not panic. He trusts. He knows that the law is exact. And as long as he holds the image, acts in alignment, and stays the course, life must deliver. Not because he is lucky, but because he is lawful. There is one thing I want you to remember today. Abundance is not something you acquire. It is something you allow. It is not a race. It is not a fight. It is an agreement between your inner world and the world around you. The moment you align your thoughts, emotions, and actions to the frequency of what you desire, you begin to live in harmony with it. You become a match to the life you seek, and the match always meets the flame. That is the law. And if you feel that law resonate in your bones, I want you to comment it now. I am a match to the life I desire. Abundance moves toward me in all things. Most people never realize that the true battlefield is invisible. It is not out there in the marketplace, the economy, or the opinions of others. It is in the quiet, persistent movement of thought. The man who learns to command his thoughts is the man who commands his world. And the first law he must understand is this: your mind is soil. It will grow anything you plant. It does not care what is planted, faith or fear, abundance or lack, belief or limitation. It will grow whatever seed you feed it repeatedly. That is why your daily thinking is not casual. It is causal. What you think with intention, you create with experience. Most people spend their days reacting to life, but the man who thinks abundance spends his days directing it. To think abundance is not to entertain a fantasy, it is to take command of a spiritual law. And one of the greatest secrets of that law is this: you cannot receive what you have not prepared to hold. You may ask for more income, more freedom, more opportunity, but unless you become the kind of person who can sustain that abundance, it will slip through your fingers. This is why preparation is the silent partner of prosperity. The abundant thinker prepares in advance. He does not wait for proof to begin acting. He prepares his systems, his habits, his mindset, because he understands that to hold more, he must become more. Prosperity always arrives to the man already expecting it. Expectation is a form of construction. Each day that you walk in faith, you are laying invisible bricks. You cannot see the mansion yet, but it is being built. One belief, one affirmation, one act of courage at a time. That is how life rewards the persistent, quietly, gradually, until one day what once existed only in your imagination appears before your eyes, fully formed. And those who doubted you will say it happened suddenly. But you will know the truth. You built it in silence, one thought at a time. That is the reward of the man who dares to think abundance. He does not rush the harvest. He becomes a master of the seed. Let us be specific. If you desire financial abundance, do not focus merely on money. Focus on the law behind money. Money is a mirror. It reflects value, and value is created by service. If you increase your service, your contribution, your usefulness to others, money must flow in response. Not because you chase it, but because you attract it. The man who thinks abundance does not ask, "How can I get more?" He asks, "How can I become more useful, more excellent, more necessary?" And in doing so, he lifts himself above the noise of competition and into the clarity of creation. He stops fighting for a slice of the pie and starts baking his own. Creation is the highest form of abundance. When you create something that did not exist before, an idea, a solution, a product, a piece of wisdom, you are practicing divine law. You are tapping into the power that made the world, and that power does not run out. The man who understands this never fears lack again. He knows that within him is a limitless well of ideas, visions, and answers. he does not compete. He contributes, and contribution creates circulation. What you give returns. Not always from the same people, not always in the same form, but it must return. That is the law of compensation, and it is immutable. Thinking abundance transforms the way you move through the world. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You hear signals where others hear noise. You interpret rejection not as defeat, but as redirection. You walk into every room with an unspoken presence that says, I am not here to take, I am here to contribute. And that posture shifts the entire atmosphere. People begin to trust you, follow you, seek you out, not because of what you say, but because of who you are becoming. The man who thinks abundance becomes a center of gravity. The world organizes around him. He does not demand power, he attracts it. And let me remind you, abundance is not always loud. It is not always dressed in gold and grandeur. Sometimes it is peace of mind. Sometimes it is a clear schedule. Sometimes it is laughter with your family at dinner. The man who thinks abundance does not measure his wealth only in dollars, but in freedom, in focus, in joy. He knows that life responds to the inner wealth first, and the outer wealth simply follows. That is why his peace is not disturbed by delays or detours. He knows the source of his abundance is not out there, it is within him. And as long as he keeps his thoughts aligned, his life will keep rising. Too many people measure progress by what they can count. But real progress is what you can feel. The shift in your energy, the increase in your clarity, the sense of momentum building quietly, even when the results are not yet visible. These are the signs of internal alignment, and internal alignment always precedes external arrival. That is the secret the abundant thinker holds close. If you feel like you're becoming more calm, more focused, more expectant, then you are. And that becoming is the seed of all receiving. Never underestimate the invisible victories. They are the foundation of all visible success. Let's write this law into your mind. I grow in silence. I receive in season. My thoughts build the life I have yet to see. If this principle feels true to you, speak it, write it, and comment it below. Let it anchor your mind against the waves of doubt. Because doubt is a thief, and it steals not your opportunities, but your permission to rise. The man who thinks abundance does not argue with doubt. He replaces it. He overpowers it with repetition, clarity, and unshakable vision. He knows the law is working, even when he cannot see it. The greatest misunderstanding in the world is the belief that we must wait for conditions to improve before we improve. But the man who thinks abundance knows this is backwards. He does not wait for his environment to change. He changes his inner world and watches the environment rearrange to match it. The masses live reactively, adjusting their mood to the news, their effort to the economy, their faith to their circumstances. But the man who understands the law of abundance lives from the inside out. His mind is the thermostat, not the thermometer. He sets the temperature of his life in thought first, and reality ever obedient follows. He lives by internal command, not external permission. That is the mark of sovereignty. To think abundance is to reclaim dominion over yourself. Not to deny reality, but to reframe it. You see, life offers us facts, but we assign meaning. And it is the meaning we choose that determines the path we walk. Two men can lose their jobs on the same day. One curses life and retreats in fear. The other sees an opening, a push from the universe to build, to grow, to create. What's the difference? The story each man tells himself. One thinks lack, the other thinks abundance, and the law responds to both, not with bias but with precision. You will always move in the direction of your dominant thought. This is why environment matters. Not only your physical surroundings, but your informational diet. The man who thinks abundance guards his inputs like a king guards his gates. He understands that what enters his ears and eyes eventually enters his mind, and what enters the mind eventually enters the world. He does not casually entertain fear-driven media, cynical people, or conversations of defeat. He knows that the mind absorbs even what it doesn't agree with. So he chooses carefully. He reads the wisdom of giants. He listens to voices that elevate. He feeds his mind with truth, beauty, and vision, because he knows those are the seeds that yield abundance. Discipline is not restriction. It is refinement. And the man who thinks abundance is disciplined, not because he is rigid, but because he is clear. He knows where he's going. He has written the vision, and he is running toward it. His days are not wasted in distraction or emotional drift. He is deliberate. He honors his time. He finishes what he starts. He speaks with precision. And these seemingly small choices, compounded daily, become the structure upon which abundance rests. The world may call it luck, but he knows better. He has aligned with the law, and the law does not lie. Let me make this clear. Abundance is attracted to structure. Without order, energy is wasted. Without discipline, focus is scattered. Without clarity, opportunity is missed. The man who thinks abundance knows that fortune does not visit chaos. It visits the prepared, the organized, the one who is already living as if he belongs where he is headed. So before he receives the outcome, he builds the container. Before he sees the reward, he becomes the man worthy of it. He dresses the part. He walks the part, he thinks the part, and then life delivers. Not because it was convinced, but because it was matched. This is why action matters. Thought without movement is incomplete. Faith without works is dead. The man who thinks abundance is not just a dreamer, he is a doer. He acts in alignment with his beliefs. He does not wait for perfect timing or outside validation. He begins. He adjusts as he goes. He falls forward, because he knows that momentum is more valuable than perfection. That progress, however imperfect, is better than paralysis in pursuit of flawlessness. He builds the bridge while walking across it, because he trusts that life supports the bold. That is the unseen confidence of the abundant thinker, not in what he has, but in who he's becoming. Confidence is not bravado. It is the quiet knowing that you are enough, that you are capable, that you are supported by something greater than yourself. The man who thinks abundance is not anxious. He is not rushed. He walks with calm urgency. He speaks with quiet certainty. And this energy, more than any words, tells life exactly where to move. The universe, like a mirror, does not respond to noise. It responds to clarity. That's why those who shout lack get more of it, and those who calmly expect abundance receive it in kind. There is no need to yell what you already believe. Let this sink into your spirit. The man who thinks abundance does not chase outcomes. He becomes the source. He walks into rooms and elevates them. He doesn't wait to be seen. He sees. He doesn't beg for recognition. He gives it. And by doing so, he rises without effort. His presence becomes his currency. His mindset becomes his magnet. He is rich in vision, discipline, and grace, and from this wealth the material must follow. Life cannot help but bless the man who blesses others through thought, word, and action. It is not karma, it is construction. And what is built in spirit must eventually appear in form. This is the new way, and you are not here by accident. If this truth has found its way into your ears, it is because your spirit is ready to rise, ready to align, ready to create on a higher level. So declare it now. Write it, speak it, comment it below. My clarity builds my future. I think in order, I live in abundance. Let these words become the rhythm of your thoughts and the blueprint of your days, and you will find soon enough that the outer world must bow to the inner law. Not by force, but by resonance. This is the power you've always had. Now is the time to use it. There is a quiet power that surrounds the man who thinks abundance, a calm certainty, a knowing that does not shout or boast, but radiates like heat from a steady flame. This man does not argue with the world. He does not explain himself. He simply lives in a way that makes the results undeniable. His words are few, but his presence is weighty. His life becomes the evidence. While others look for shortcuts and secrets, he returns to principle. While others grasp for hacks and gimmicks, he builds on the solid ground of timeless truth. And the truth is simple. The world does not give you what you want. It gives you who you are. Become the person who belongs in the life you seek, and that life must arrive. To think abundance is to live as if it's already done. Not in pretense, but in principle. Not in fantasy, but in faith. You dress for the room you intend to walk into. You prepare for the opportunity before it knocks. You develop the habits of the version of you who already has what you desire. Because waiting to change until circumstances change is the greatest trap there is. That's how people stay stuck for decades, always waiting for the evidence before they make the decision. But the abundant thinker does the opposite. He makes the decision first. He acts now. He begins while others hesitate. And that beginning, small, imperfect, sincere, is the turning point life has been waiting for. Abundance responds to initiative, not because you forced it, but because you moved in faith. The man who thinks abundance does not wait for permission. He builds while others delay. He prepares while others complain. He knows the law. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the vessel is built, the flow begins. That is why your preparation is never wasted. Your daily rituals, your disciplines, your internal alignment, these are not side projects. They are the foundation. They are the proving ground for your next level. Do not ask for more if you are not yet stewarding what you have. Life promotes those who are ready, not those who are impatient. Readiness is a vibration. It is felt, not announced. You do not need to convince anyone of your potential. You simply walk it. You live it. You build systems that reflect where you're going. You speak with clarity. You move with integrity. And the world responds not because you yelled louder, but because you became undeniable. That is the difference between those who hope and those who arrive. The hopeful wish, the aligned prepare. And that preparation is what separates the talkers from the builders, the spectators from the creators, the average from the rare. Because abundance, like water, flows to the lowest point of resistance, and discipline clears the channel. But there is another law equally important, the law of identity. The man who thinks abundance must become loyal to a new identity, not the one shaped by his past, his mistakes, or his limitations, but the one aligned with his future. You cannot create a new life while remaining emotionally loyal to the old one. You must shed the skin of your former self. You must leave behind the narratives, habits, and environments that no longer serve who you are becoming. That is the real cost of abundance. Not time, not energy, but identity. The courage to outgrow who you were. The audacity to walk alone for a while. The clarity to say, I no longer live at that level. Let me say this plainly. You cannot hold abundance with a mindset built-in survival. Scarcity thinking will always sabotage prosperity. Because no matter how much you receive, your nervous system will reject what you do not feel safe to hold. That is why inner work is not a luxury. It is the work. Heal the fear of success. Release the guilt of outgrowing others. Forgive yourself for who you used to be. Only then can you hold what you've been asking for. Only then can abundance stay. Because receiving is not just about having, it is about allowing. And we only allow what we feel worthy of. Worthy does not mean perfect. It means prepared. It means willing. It means aligned. The man who thinks abundance no longer negotiates with his old self. He no longer apologizes for wanting more. He no longer asks others for permission to rise. He is at peace with being misunderstood. He is at peace with being different, because he knows he is not here to blend in, he is here to build. And builders are not always praised at first. But eventually the world catches up. Eventually those who doubted you will ask how you did it. And you will smile, not in pride, but in peace, because you will know that abundance was never about the applause. It was about alignment. There is nothing louder than a life that works. No speech, no slogan, no sales pitch can compare to the silent authority of results. That is why the man who thinks abundance is patient. He does not need to explain. He does not need to defend. He simply aligns, acts, and allows. And over time, his consistency carves out a reality that cannot be ignored. The vision that once lived only in his mind becomes visible to all. And yet even then he remains grounded, because his wealth is not in what he has, it is in who he is. His peace, his discipline, his clarity, that is the treasure. And from that treasure all other forms of abundance flow. Let this be your reminder today. I live as if it's already mine. I prepare as if it's already on the way. I am loyal to the life I'm creating. Say it, breathe it, comment it below. Let it seal this part of the message into your being, because the world does not respond to your wishes. It responds to your frequency. Tune that frequency and watch what begins to unfold. Not overnight, but inevitably. And when it arrives, you'll know you didn't chase it. You became it. There is a moment in the journey of every man who thinks abundance, when the outer world has not yet caught up to his inner vision. He walks through familiar places with unfamiliar eyes. The people around him still see the version of him from yesterday, but he knows deeply, quietly, that something has shifted. This is the moment where most turn back, not because they lack ability, but because they seek validation too early. But the man aligned with abundance does not need applause to continue. He understands that transformation is private before it ever becomes public. He holds the image steady, he keeps sowing, and in time the invisible becomes undeniable. This is the law of incubation. Every great vision must go through seasons of silence. There will be days when it looks like nothing is working, weeks where progress feels invisible, moments where your old self whispers louder than your new one. But the man who thinks abundance knows better than to believe the noise. He does not measure his future by the delays of the present. He walks through the waiting with the same intensity as the winning, because he understands that faith is not proven by what you do when it's easy. It's proven by what you do when nothing is yet visible. This is where real power is forged. Abundance is not impatient. It does not panic. It is not desperate. It is composed, strategic, precise. The man who thinks abundance is not addicted to urgency. He moves with intention, not impulse. He knows that the fruit he seeks requires roots, and roots grow in the dark. While others post, compare, and seek attention, he builds, he studies, he refines, he strengthens the foundation. Because when the spotlight comes, it's too late to prepare. Your character must be ready before your stage arrives. And if it isn't, the abundance you begged for will become the pressure that breaks you. The man who understands this chooses depth over display. The world may call him slow, but he knows he is strategic. He is not wasting time, he is investing it. Every book he reads, every early morning, every quiet decision to stay focused is a deposit into the account of his future. He does not move to impress others, he moves to impress the law. Because the law, unlike people, is not swayed by charisma. It is activated by clarity, consistency, congruence, and this man, though quiet, is congruent. His actions match his thoughts. His energy matches his vision, and this alignment builds momentum that can't be bought, rushed, or faked. Here's what most miss. Abundance is not a reward, it's a reflection of how you think, how you move, how you respond when nothing goes your way. It's easy to act abundant when everything is working, but the real test is when it's not, when things slow down, when you're tempted to lower your standard, dilute your focus, betray your vision for quick comfort. The man who thinks abundance doesn't fold under pressure, he sharpens. Pressure reveals the truth. And the truth is, your ability to stay faithful in delay is the signal that tells life you're ready. This is not about fake optimism. This is about mental precision. The man who thinks abundance does not lie to himself about difficulty. He sees it clearly, but he does not surrender to it. He studies it, extracts the lesson, applies the wisdom, then moves forward, sharper than before. This is how he compounds power, by refusing to waste pain. He lets nothing pass through him without leaving him stronger. His mindset is like armor, not brittle but forged through fire. And the longer he holds the vision, the more unstoppable he becomes. Because eventually the universe catches up to the man who never gave up. He becomes like a mountain, unmoving, grounded, stable. Others may fluctuate. They may copy, sprint, or shout. But he just continues, because he knows the end is written. The outcome is already settled. His job is not to force it, it is to remain in harmony with it. He does not let the noise shake him. He does not let delay define him. He walks through the fog with a compass in his chest, not a clock in his hand. He lives by alignment, not urgency. And this, more than anything, is why he receives what others only dream about. So hear this clearly. The evidence may be delayed, but the result is not in question. Your job is not to predict the date, your job is to prepare for the wait. And that preparation is not visible to everyone, nor should it be. Your abundance is not a performance, it is a covenant, a quiet agreement between your future self and your present discipline. And every day you honor that agreement, the future draws closer. Every time you choose structure over impulse, clarity over noise, vision over doubt, you become more magnetic, more grounded, more ready, and the law always delivers to the ready. Let this be today's command to your spirit. I trust my timing, I prepare in silence, I receive in full. Comment it below, let it echo through your thoughts. Let it overwrite the anxiety, because abundance is not late, it is building. You are not behind. You are being forged, and when it arrives it won't trickle, it will pour. Not because you got lucky, but because you got aligned. When a man fully embodies the mindset of abundance, He no longer negotiates with limitation. He no longer entertains small talk about why things can't be done, or excuses about timing, luck, or circumstance. He no longer waits for permission to rise. He simply decides, and from that decision, the world begins to shift. Not all at once, but steadily. Like the slow turning of a great ship, his environment begins to reflect his new frequency. The same streets look different. The same conversations take on deeper meaning. The same routines now carry weight and direction, because the man has changed, and the world has no choice but to follow. Abundance at this level becomes less about what you accumulate and more about who you influence. You stop thinking in terms of what can I get, and start thinking in terms of how can I expand others. And paradoxically, that's when the real returns begin, because the law responds to scale. And when your thinking expands beyond yourself, when your energy becomes a conduit for growth, service, and elevation of others, life opens up in ways that numbers cannot explain. Your name begins to move through rooms you've never entered. Your ideas begin to travel further than you ever pushed them. Why? Because you're no longer focused on gain. You're focused on giving, and giving is the master key to receiving. The man who thinks abundance plays a long game. He is not shaken by daily fluctuations. He does not fear quiet seasons. He does not measure his life by temporary metrics. He thinks in terms of decades, not weekends. He moves like a strategist, not a spectator. And because of this, his power compounds. His impact deepens. While others chase dopamine, he chases legacy. And he understands something the average man never will. Wealth is a result of who you become, not what you collect. You can take the income, the accolades, even the status from a man like this, but you cannot touch his source, because he does not depend on outcomes for identity. He has become the outcome. But here's the greatest secret. Abundance has little to do with money, and everything to do with mastery. Mastery over the mind, mastery over emotion, mastery over time, environment, and energy. It is not a dollar amount. It is a standard, a frequency, a code, and once you operate at that code, money becomes a natural byproduct. So does influence, so does peace, so does presence. You do not chase these things. You become the kind of person they orbit around. And this is the difference between the few who rise and the many who remain confused. The few calibrate their internal world with ruthless precision. The many react to the outer world with no compass, no direction, and no understanding of law. This is why your commitment must not be casual. It must be complete. If you are to live abundantly, you must train your thinking like an athlete trains the body, daily, relentlessly, with reverence and with rigor. That means tracking your thoughts. That means holding your words accountable. That means eliminating internal contradictions. You cannot speak power and act in fear. You cannot visualize success and rehearse doubt. You cannot declare overflow and live in complaint. Abundance demands congruence, and the moment you become mentally congruent, the external begins to obey. There is a weight to that kind of man, a gravitational pull. People feel it in his presence. They feel steadiness in his voice. They feel certainty in his walk. He does not need to be loud because his energy already speaks. He does not demand respect because his alignment already commands it. He does not sell himself short because he knows who he is, and more importantly, who he is becoming. And that self-knowledge is the foundation of his abundance. It is not ego, it is not arrogance, it is spiritual conviction. The knowing that he was designed not for scarcity, but for overflow. And because he walks in that truth, the world adjusts to fit him. You may not see the full result yet, but if your thoughts have changed, your life has already begun to. The new harvest has been planted. The old program has been deleted. What you once tolerated no longer fits. What once satisfied now feels small. That discomfort you feel, that's growth. That resistance you feel, that's confirmation. You are being reshaped from the inside out, and if you stay loyal to the vision long enough, what is invisible will become physical. What is intangible will become undeniable. Not because the world gave you permission, but because you gave yourself the command. If you understood just how powerful your thoughts are, you would never waste another one. You would never casually entertain a fear or lazily repeat a complaint or impulsively react to noise. You would treat your mind like sacred ground, because you'd know every idea you hold becomes a brick in your future. Every phrase you repeat becomes a script your life begins to perform. Every assumption you accept becomes a contract you unconsciously sign. This is why the man who thinks abundance does not think casually. He thinks precisely. He edits his self-talk. He rewrites his assumptions. And as a result, he begins to experience a level of control that feels like magic, but it isn't. It's structure. So say it now, comment it below, etch it into your mind. I am the command. Abundance follows me. My thoughts shape my reality. Let that be your final word today. Not as a hope, not as a wish, but as law. Because once you walk in alignment with that law, everything you were waiting for will begin walking toward you.